Thank you, Christian. Good afternoon. It's great to be here for this critical forum, and I appreciate all of your attendance. Christian, thanks for the introduction and for your partnership, and I appreciate the Institute's invitation to be here today. And I'm sure as everyone has discussed already and knows of our great partnership on the U.S. Cluster Mapping Project with the Institute for Strategy and Competitiveness, in which we have been working together, strengthening U.S. competitiveness by helping clusters and regions really understand and improve their economic composition and performance. And I'll talk about some more exciting details in just a bit. But I also want to thank, can I close this? Is it going to mess up anything? Great, thank you. I'd like to thank the Cumberland Center and the Chairman and CEO, Scott Massey, for this event, for this conference, and for all their good work. And also, before I begin my formal remarks, I'd like to recognize again our Atlanta Regional Director, Phil Paradise, and thank him for his participation today and his insights and leadership. And to our friends and partners who are on the previous panel, great to see them. And I think, as you know, we have a number of prominent EDA grantees participating in the conference this week. Of course, the Global Center for Medical Innovation in Atlanta, Tech 2020 from Tennessee, Space Florida from Florida's Space Coast region, and of course New Carolina. I thank them for their important work, their partnership, and everything that they're doing to create jobs and economic opportunity in their respective regions. And finally, I want to give a shout out to Mark Murrow. I don't think Mark is still here, from the Brookings Institution. You know, he's led some fantastic work and is such a great champion for the regional innovation work that is needed to keep America competitive. So, again, it's really good to be here. I can't think of a more important time than now for this kind of forum and the kinds of discussions that we're having about the critical steps that we need to take collectively to drive economic growth and prosperity through innovation. And the themes of this summit: convene, connect, challenge, and communicate, and above all, advance action, could not be more timely or more relevant. And the themes of this summit do tie directly into my remarks. So today I want to speak with you about how the Obama administration, the U.S. Department of Commerce, and we at the Economic Development Administration, EDA, are working to foster the growth of healthy, competitive regional economic ecosystems. And I do want you to know that advancing the regional innovation and regional competition is a key priority for President Obama, his administration, our new secretary, Penny Pritzker, and the entire Department of Commerce. And it's enunciated through her and through the leadership, and I'm honored to be working with both of them, two leaders who are taking decisive action to accelerate growth and remove barriers. And I'll provide some specific examples in just a bit, but first I'd like to set the table, I think, with some important context. We as a country, the U.S., we currently stand at a critical moment as it relates to jobs, economic growth, innovation, and shared prosperity. And the economic landscape that we all face today is like none we have ever faced before. The U.S. is presented with two concurrent macroeconomic trends, one representing great opportunity and the other significant challenges. And how we address those challenges and opportunities will largely determine what kind of future we have as a country. So first, the U.S. is on the cusp of a resurgence in business investment, particularly in the advanced manufacturing sector, but across a number of other sectors. And this is due to a number of our national comparative advantages: our strength in research and development, continued increases in the productivity of American workers, the strong rule of law and intellectual property protection, reliable supply chains, and new opportunities created by the expansion and reliability of domestic energy resources. And we shouldn't leave out the rising cost of doing business overseas and the rising difficulty of doing business overseas. A recent foreign direct investment survey of executives from 302 companies across the globe by the firm A.T. Kearney that recently came out spotlights the impact of these factors on our economy. Now, the survey has been conducted each year since 1998. And for the first few years of the survey, as you'd expect, the U.S. ranked number one as the favored place for foreign direct investment in the world. Now, China then took the top spot for several years through last year, 2012. And in last year's survey in 2012, the U.S. ranked fourth. Now, this year's survey in 2013 shows that for the first time since 2001, the U.S. has knocked China out of first place. China slipped to second place. Brazil came in third, followed by Canada, and India dropped to 5 from number 2 last year. Now, the release of this survey comes amid several other indicators of foreign interest and investment in the U.S., again, particularly in advanced manufacturing, but many examples abound across sectors. The point is, we have an extremely exciting window of opportunity, a particularly exciting window of opportunity for increased investment here in the United States. And as the President said at the recent Select USA Global Investment Summit that we just held in Washington, he said, America is open for business and businesses have responded. After a decade in which many jobs left the United States to go overseas, now we're seeing companies starting to bring jobs back here because they're seeing the advantages of being located here. Caterpillar bringing jobs back from Japan, Ford bringing jobs back from Mexico, and locating plants in other countries. After locating plants in other countries like China, Intel is opening its most advanced plant right here in the United States. However, we have a second trend, and to be even more successful, a number of issues need to be addressed at the local level across the entire country to ensure that our communities are best positioned to attract and expand investment and to make that investment lasting. I think someone on the panel previously said we have to make it sustainable. We have to make it long-term. And this is the second macro trend we are facing and the challenge before us all. Because many communities are not fully prepared to take advantage of the new investment opportunities. So while states and communities may be in a better fiscal position than they were just 2 or 3 years ago, general fund spending levels are expected to increase by only 2.2% this fiscal year, less than half their historic average growth rate. And even with revenue growth, state budgets are still facing pressure, with 24 states enacting lower spending levels in fiscal year 2013 than in fiscal year 2008. This means that state and local governments, who are at the forefront of developing the regional economic strategies to address the key investment needs in their economies, do not have the resources to make the critical investments at a time when the need is more urgent than ever. And I don't have to tell you this, exasperating the situation even more, private capital remains tied up due to risk factors that permit only the strongest investment opportunities to be funded without some risk mitigation. Still, very risk-averse private capital. So communities and regions are striving to do the right thing in a resource-constrained environment. We in Washington are striving to do the right thing in a resource-constrained environment. And this resource gap means that no one can go it alone anymore to achieve economic development success. And so what this means is that communities and regions just can't get by, much less thrive, with a return to the status quo. Quite simply, the old models of economic development will prove insufficient for the critical outcomes we need. Therefore, today, in this economic moment, the successful model of U.S. economic development comprises a combination of new public-private higher education partnerships focused on regional economies and on the bottom-up strategies and leveraging those regional assets to the fullest extent. Businesses, existing and emerging industry clusters, supply chains, technology, critical infrastructure, institutions of higher learning, and, of course, human talent. And to do this, it is critical that the U.S. invest in its industrial ecosystem. Many of you may have seen the MIT report, Investing in the Productive Economy, which talks about filling the holes, the market failures in our economic ecosystem. An important component of this, a major component and building block, is the public goods needed to make that ecosystem more productive. Because such public goods can strengthen the capacity for innovation in U.S. communities, deepen the skills of the American workforce, attract and support the small businesses that serve in that supply chain, and expand the opportunities for U.S. exports. Now, EDA's important contribution here involves providing both the technical assistance and the economic development co-investment, patient capital, that builds capacity in communities and regional economies across the country and sets the stage, creates the conditions for economic growth, sustainable job creation, and prosperity. Strategic co-investments that help leverage the existing assets, develop new assets, and reconnect those frozen assets that have become disconnected from the ecosystem. But economic development is not static. The mix of federal investments that stimulate economic growth has changed substantially since EDA's founding almost 50 years ago in 1965 due to changes in technology, productivity, globalization of industry and innovation, and the constraints in natural and other resources. So to keep up with these changes and maintain the relevance of its mission, EDA's investment portfolio must be continuously examined and refined to ensure it reflects the modern economic reality and the future challenges to growth. Solutions that promote growth must address the multiple resource constraints, emerging opportunities, and competitive forces, and must be derived from a foundation constructed of thought leadership, flexibility, and strategic purpose of mission. So the principles guiding our investments at Commerce and EDA must include 4 key objectives. Number 1, leverage scarce resources. Number 2, drive greater impact for job creation and economic growth. Number 3, attain a better return on the taxpayer dollar. And number 4, make it a more seamless process for our stakeholders to apply for federal resources. We must be steadfast in our commitment to responsible stewardship of those taxpayer dollars, and in this challenging budget climate, we have to make the smart and tough choices to cut costs while only building on programs that truly work. And so I like to say our portfolio of programs and services must be guided by what I call the 4 C's. A competitive process which seeks out the best ideas across the country for economic development. A process where we co-invest with local and regional partners. A process that fosters and rewards collaboration, and a process that catalyzes sustainable, long-term job creation, private investment, and economic growth. And as such, EDA's balanced portfolio includes strategic patient capital, as well as innovative thought leadership tools that practitioners can use to move the needle for regional innovation, which brings me to the U.S. Cluster Mapping website, which represents one of those tools. And I know you've heard a lot about this, and it's particularly exciting. It really presents a platform for information on U.S. clusters in regions, which provides the cluster mapping and other relevant data through a powerful interface that engages and motivates the economic development practitioners and researchers to draw on that cluster data and share the best practices to inform research. Rich data visualization on industry clusters in every region of the country, reports and studies, and a community network. And recently, 4 regional case studies, which we're particularly excited about, covering Oregon, Minnesota, South Carolina, and Massachusetts, were added to the site. Real-world examples that show how clusters have been used as an instrument for collaboration among organizations and a framework for that public policy, and that the practitioners can leverage that data to achieve the tangible results. So each study tells a unique story, but all provide lessons learned that can be applied and extended to other regions. And as someone who has served at the federal, state, regional, and local level in economic development, I know how valuable the information available on our new site is to practitioners. So when it comes to our strategic co-investments, we also know that we can always improve how the federal resources are applied across programs. In the past, communities, despite establishment of concerted strategic plans, found themselves applying for disparate federal programs among a myriad of agencies, divergent requirements, authorities, focuses, which is why the Obama administration is focused on synchronizing federal programs to maximize federal taxpayer returns and to better enable communities as they develop and implement long-term development plans and achieve greater impact. So importantly, we are working to break down Washington's bureaucratic silos so that we can be a more effective partner in the regions we serve. I want to give you some examples. For example, And just over the last year, EDA launched and awarded funding for 4 multi-agency competitions, including 3 Jobs and Innovation Accelerator Challenges, which have provided approximately $200 million to a total of 44 projects nationwide. And these national competitions have included coordinated funding from at least 8 different federal agencies, many of these agencies funding multiple challenges. And to help grow America's critical advanced manufacturing sector and encourage companies to invest in the U.S., EDA and 5 agencies worked together to invest a total of $20 million across 10 winning regions through the Advanced Manufacturing Jobs and Innovation Accelerator Challenge. Another example of our smart investment and silo-busting approach is EDA's multi-agency I-6 Challenge competition, which is designed to strengthen regional innovation ecosystems by rewarding those innovative ideas that accelerate technology commercialization and new venture formation, speeding up ideas from the lab to the marketplace. Just over the past 3 years, the I-6 competition has leveraged interagency partnerships to make more than $25 million in existing resources available to support 19 proof-of-concept centers in communities all across the country. Centers, again, that are designed to speed the research from the labs to products and services in the marketplace. And we're excited to launch the 4th round of the I-6 Challenge later this fiscal year. And also earlier this calendar year, we led the Make It in America Challenge competition, which was a partnership between the Department of Commerce and Labor, which seeks to encourage foreign and domestic businesses to build and or expand their operations in the United States. And just a few weeks ago, we announced the 10 winners of this challenge, which will be receiving a total of more than $20 million for projects supporting regional economic development, advanced skills training, greater supply chain access, and other enhancements. Also, just a few weeks ago, we announced the winners of the first phase of our Investing in Manufacturing Communities partnership. More than 25 winning regions across the country in this first phase, which provided planning grants to help these communities develop implementation-ready plans, action plans that comprise workforce training, specialized research, strengthened supply chains, improved capital access, and improved critical infrastructure. We look forward to the impact of all these programs and the impact that they will have on encouraging U.S. companies to keep, expand, or reshore their operations and jobs in America, and to entice the foreign companies to build facilities and make their products and services here. And later this calendar year and into next, we plan to launch Phase 2 and 3 of the IMCP, the Invest in Manufacturing Communities Partnership, to continue to drive regional innovation and competitiveness, and to continue the coordinated and integrated multi-agency model, leveraging existing funds like never before. These national challenges and the projects launched through them have critical components in common. They have shifted in a good way, a positive way, and an impactful way how regions organize, how they organize for action. And these initiatives have helped change the signals that regional leaders send. They have changed the very conversation about regional growth, bringing in those new stakeholders with common interests to the table. They are setting the stage more effectively for driving the economy in ever-widening circles. So to conclude, the American economy we always talk about is, in fact, a collection of regional and local economies. And we all know in our hearts and minds that when American regions are strong, America as a whole is stronger. And in this new economic landscape that we all face today, we must continue to focus on strengthening those regional economic and innovation ecosystems. The new innovative partnerships and approaches are essential. I'm reminded of the important piece by Professor Rosabeth Moss-Kanter in the Harvard Business Review entitled Enriching the Ecosystem. And in the article, she specifically posits as one of her main points, regions must link leaders across sectors to develop regional strategies and produce scalable models that build on local assets and attract new investment. She goes on to write, ecosystems are inherently local. In each region, multiple actors that share an interest in the local quality of life must come together to enrich the ecosystem. And regional strategies work best when they focus on underlying capabilities and the foundational institutions that produce them. This is our continued collective charge. And look, we all know what we need to do. The time for concerted will is now. The time for action is now. And overall, going forward, you have my commitment that Commerce and EDA will continue to work and help our regional partners thrive in this new economic reality by collaborating closely to catalyze local plans to drive innovation and create jobs, and to help build those strong regional partnerships that will strengthen our nation's overall economic competitiveness. To quote our nation's first pioneer of the public-private partnership, Ben Franklin, "The good we may do together is greater than the good we may do alone." Thank you very much for what you do every day to make our country stronger, and thank you again for the opportunity to be here.